got caught off guard by winter and thought I'd have a few more runs with the cars than before the snow hit, but no such luck. So both these cars got put away with some E85 in it. So you know what that means. You gotta cycle it around. I'm gonna go out and do something a little bit different here and make a informative video sharing a few tips that I've come across as far as using cars on E85 and storing them over the winter goes. I know there's a lot of talk about E85 gunking up fuel systems and it can't sit and it's hygroscopic and it accumulates water, it rusts, it corrodes, it gels. And I have to say I've been running it for, I guess, the better part of a decade now. Between the old setup and the Challenger when I used to have the 340 with the Phi-Tech and the Pro Charger setup, to the Impala setup that I've been running for, I guess, about 5 years now, the LSA, and then the Hellcat swap setup in the Challenger that I have now. And I've never once had a fuel filter clog. I've never had an injector clog. I've never found gunk in my fuel system or rust or corrosion. And I have seen it on small engines, ATVs, my ATV. It's all the time with the ethanol subsidized fuel that we have here. I get the little sediment at the bottom of the bowl if it sits for too long. But with the cars, I've never had an issue. And I really attribute it to just a few simple things that I do, because these cars do sit for maybe a month at a time, 2 months at a time. I'm in New York and I don't drive the cars at all when there's salt on the road. So they pretty much don't get driven on a good winter, probably from late December through to March. Take it with a grain of salt, because there's probably different mixtures of E85 in different parts of the country, probably different stabilizer packages and things like that. And who knows if whatever I'm doing here in New York works because the fuel is better. Maybe that's the case, maybe it's not, I don't know. But the first thing that I've always done is I've always made sure to cycle the fuel. And when I say cycle it, I mean start the car, or at least just run the fuel system, but preferably starting the car, because when you just turn the key, you're going to prime the injectors, but you're not going to really hold the injectors open for long. So I like to run the cars frequently in the winter, every week if I can, and just get them idling a little bit. And I know people say that's terrible for the oil. It's going to get condensation in the oil and sludge up and everything else, but I'm changing the oil in these cars every season because I don't like the fact that the oil sits, over a season with fuels breaking it down and everything else. That's why oil changes really should be done every 6 months, because even if you're not putting a lot of mileage on the oil, you could still have contaminants in the oil that are breaking the oil down. And that's where the 3,000 miles, 6 month adage comes, even though you could probably push it a lot more than 3,000 miles these days with modern synthetics. But as far as the oil sitting for long periods of time, it could still be getting broken down by fuel, particles that have gotten into there, and so on and so forth. But anyway, I believe that cycling the fuel is important, because it seems to be that the E85 mainly gels up in small quantities when it's exposed to some level of oxygen or atmosphere, and it's in parts of the fuel system, like in very small doses, in fuel filters, in injector pintles, in places where there could be air coming back in, the lines kind of drain out while the car's sitting, and you can get air into those lines, and now you have little bits of fuel that seem to start to evaporate and gel up much faster. So to me, cycling that fuel through for fresh fuel from the pool of fuel in the tank is beneficial, because as long as I've seen 85 stored in jugs, I've hardly ever seen a whole jug gel up. It's just in small quantities that you tend to find it. So what I do on the Impala is I have dual fuel pumps. So I'll run the car and idle it and everything and get those injectors opening and closing and try to, if you can, I mean, driving it's better because obviously wide open throttle, those injectors are going to open for longer and it'll have more of a chance and more velocity to flush anything out, especially if you're boosted when fuel pressure goes up. But at least just idle it and run it and get new fuel into the rail and some fuel through the injectors. With the second pump setup, I'll usually just go and jump the relay, and this way I could fire that second pump up and cycle some fuel through the pump. For the Challenger, I just run it because it's only single pump. The second thing I've always done is I put an additive in, usually in the beginning of winter, and I just use like a Lucas or forget the other brand. There's another brand, Stable maybe. And I've used both. I've never had any issues with either, but I'll usually try to put that in and cycle it around for the last tank that I'm putting into the cars. Obviously, ideally, the Impala's flex fuel. Ideally, I try to get pump gas in it, 93. Like right at the end of the season if I can. And the Challenger, there's 1 year where I flushed it out and put pump gas into it, but there's a lot of times where that doesn't work because like this winter, the snow just shit on us out of nowhere and there was no time to really cycle the cars through. And I'm not about to drain all the fuel out and siphon it and everything and put pump in and have to upload the tune for the Challenger because it's not flex fuel. The Impala will just adapt, but I still don't want to put the mix in there. I'd rather just drain everything out. So that's not happening. I'm just leaving the ethanol in them and running them. But again, it's so far, it's been 2 months with the same E85 in it. And when I start the cars up and rev it and everything, it's all fine. It's not, no issues. It's not gunking up. It's not gelling up. I'll inspect the fuel filters in the spring and I'm sure I won't have a problem because I've done this a million times before. But that's really it. That's the two main things that I found that seem to have helped with not having fuel system issues with E85 cars sitting over the winter and not being driven. So maybe give it a shot, see if it works for you. I have heard, and I want to talk about this, I remember watching a YouTube video from somebody who apparently had a pretty good reputation in the automotive industry, but I don't think he was a chemist or a fuel guy. And he was claiming that the reason people have E85 gelling issues is because the additive packages in pump gas don't mix well, fall out of solution when they're mixed with E85 additives. So basically when people are mixing E85 and pump gas in cars where you might be running like E50, or something like that, or just mixing it because it's a flex fuel car, he was saying supposedly the additives fall out of solution when they're mixed like that. I don't know if I buy that. He didn't have any factual basis behind it. He didn't cite any sources. The reason I don't buy it is because whatever additive is in E85 still has to hold up to, most E85 fuels are only 80% at most around the country. So that still has to hold up to 20% fuel in there. So what additive would they be putting in ethanol that would still hold its solution with 20% fuel, but not with 50% fuel? It doesn't seem to make much sense, or vice versa, because most regular pump gases have like 20% ethanol or 15% ethanol in them now. So it's not like the additives that are in the gas now aren't ethanol compatible because they have ethanols in the fuel already in almost every state, as far as I know. So that's one reason I didn't think it was really plausible. And the other reason is because factory engineers designed flex fuel cars to be flex fuel. It was supposed to be a system where you could go back and forth as needed. And I've never once read in any warranty information or service manual that you have to flush the pump gas out before putting E85 in. So it just doesn't seem like something that's really the cause, but who knows? Like I said, I'm just going by the experiences that I've had, and hopefully that helps you guys out. And in other news, I got a massive fucking pallet rack for all the Viper stuff. You can see up there, I got the bumper, fenders, rockers, basically everything. The sport cap is down behind the 392 on the ground. So I'm hoping that once I get that stuff back on the car, I could use this to clear out all these shelves and make some room on the side of the garage and maybe be able to squeeze the Viper in over here between the lift and the wall. It would fit. It's just extremely close, like within like 2 inches. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe go diagonal and bring the Challenger up. And then the Impala over here, I got nothing really going on. It's just kind of crammed in because I'm working on a snowblower behind it. But I'm hoping that I could get this thing to nationals, and there's no issues with it now, so it should do fine. But I'm looking forward to Impala Nationals in June, I think it is this year, and running this thing around the road course and trying to reclaim my second place title from 2024 for the drag race. I think there's going to be a few faster cars there this year, but maybe I'll come up with something to try to keep up. I can't fucking wink. But of course, the real priority and what's probably going to be taking up all my budget this year for any fun stuff is going to be the Viper. And I'm going to have to really be cheaping out on this project right now, because I think it's just looking like budget's a little bit tighter than I was expecting for the year. And I think I'm going to skip the cam for now and just put the 392 in the way it is, which should still make on E85, I think, like, I don't know what these things do, maybe 440, 450 or something to the wheels. With just the tune and headers and intake and all that that's going to go along with it. So it should still be pretty fun in a car that I'm hoping is going to weigh less than like 3,200 pounds. But I can't wait to get started on it. We're still just straightening the chassis out, and it's got some work to go, but it's getting there. The chassis was a little bit worse than we thought. It was bent all the way back to the cross member, something I didn't see because I never really put it on the lift and I was crawling under it, but we did notice some buckling behind the cross member area. So it really took a hit, and it seemed like the rails basically bent all the way up about 4 inches. But we got all the markers in alignment now, and now it's just a matter of getting everything perfect and then boxing all the areas that are buckled and reinforcing it. And once that's done, I could start working on getting the He-Man. As for the Challenger, I would love to do a upper pulley on it this season. Maybe like a 3.0, try to get a few more pounds of boost and see if I could scrape the bottom nines with it. But I just don't think it's going to happen with the budget this year. But who knows, because if the Viper gets delayed, if it's a little bit longer getting the chassis in order than I thought, and I don't think I'm going to get the car running by the end of the season, I might just put that off till next year and do the pulley on this. But the free thing that I can do with this car is still work on the chassis and getting this thing to hook. So I think with the second gear launches and the Pro bracket radials now and the AFCO shocks out back, I should be able to get this thing dialed in and actually start 60 footing well with it. And that should get me a little bit faster anyway. So maybe I could get bottom lines with that. Perfect DA maybe a little bit negative DA, but the upper pulley would definitely help. Kind of hope I could do it, but I really want to get this Viper going.